I'm gonna draw your mom.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Some closing thoughts on Elif Tan's upcoming title defense, her very first as IBF champion tomorrow afternoon on the undercard of Josh Kelly versus Bakram Murtazaliev. Seen here opposite Taylor Jentzen, who we've already had a look at and we've already talked about. I've got Elif Tan winning the fight and retaining her IBF title, that if she was able to knock out Shauna Brown in Ireland, Rima Ayadi in France, and Beatrice Ferreira in Monaco, then I feel like I can trust her to knock out Taylor Jentzen to handle this assignment. But I'm a little bit ambivalent when it comes to this fighter. This champion. You don't need to be Bert Sugar to know that she's physically strong and packs a knockout punch, or that she's a threat to the other three champions in the lightweight division today. She is all those things, but she is also flawed. Physically strong, yes, but what about her methodology, which seems to be swing for the fences and hope to land big? It's the kind of thing that works up until it doesn't. Swing for the fences, hoping to get through with a bomb. And so long as she can do damage. But we've seen a lot of fighters like this over the years, and it is the kind of methodology that works up until it doesn't. The Golden Turk, sporting an unblemished record of 12 wins with no losses and no draws, 8 recorded knockouts, easily one of the biggest punchers anywhere at or around these weights, a reigning champion. Which one of the champions at her weight do you think she could also knock out? If she was able to take out Beatrice Ferreira, does she also take out Stephanie Hahn? Does she take out Caroline Dubois? For the record, it's not a fight I think Caroline wants, no sir. Elif Tan fought 3 times last year. Once in March, again in August, then again in December. They've been keeping her busy, and now she is set to return to action less than a month out from her last fight, which is good. That is what you want. The fight with Beatrice only lasted 5 rounds. The fight with Taylor might go less than that. Despite of that vote of confidence, I am still ambivalent about this fighter that, while dangerous for me, doesn't quite pass the sniff test. It's because the same thing that makes her such a dangerous adversary for everybody at this weight is also the same thing that makes her a limited fighter, her methodology. It's to swing for the fences, hoping to land something big. And we've seen so many fighters like this over the years eventually run into a wall, into a situation where their power is not enough to avail them. So with Elif Tan, at least for me, acknowledging that she is a formidable fighter, that is also acknowledging that she's a limited fighter, that she can be outmaneuvered, she can be outboxed. The other added problem, because she is with Matchroom, and the other 3 champions at the weight are all with MVP, can Elif Tan even get a unification match, or are they all collectively going to freeze her out? Just fight amongst themselves in a round robin. My recommendation: Katie Taylor, who still holds most of the alphabet titles in the super lightweight division, is very close to retiring. I saw a recent quote from Eddie Hearn where he said she may never box again, and if she doesn't, and she drops all 3 alphabet titles she still holds, my recommendation would be for Elif Tan to move up and pick up one of those titles to get a head start on the other girls, because they're not going to stay at lightweight forever. And she shouldn't let her own career stagnate beyond this weekend, pursuing unification matches with them that perhaps will not happen. What you can do, what she can do, is move up to get a head start on them and collect as many of the titles at 140 pounds as she can, so by the time they move up there, they have to go through her, they have to see her. It may prove too difficult and too elusive to become the authority at 135, but once Katie bows out, that opens the door for Elif Tan to not just become a 2-weight world champion, but also corner some of these fights she can't land at 135, because I don't see anybody there
in any hurry to fight her.
For all of her tactical limitations, she is still a near and apparent threat to anyone with a belt at 135, and they don't want to roll the dice with her. So that's my recommendation. Elif Tan's career should not stagnate at lightweight, waiting for a unification match that may or may not happen. As soon as a title becomes available at 140, she should go up there and get it.
I expect her to win this weekend, and we'll see what happens after that.
In the main event, Bakram Murtazaliev is disappointed, questions the biggest names at 154 ahead of his upcoming title defense against Josh Kelly. It has been a frustrating 15 months for the IBF junior middleweight champion Bakram Murtazaliev. It looked as though 2025 could become a fruitful year for Russia's Murtazaliev after he blitzed through Tim Kazoo in October of 2024, but it proved instead to be one full of empty promises. Murtazaliev almost performed too well against Zhu when dropping him on 4 occasions before finishing the Aussie in the 3rd round. Since then, he's got nowhere near the leading names in the junior middleweight division, and he's been forced to wait for a willing contender. None of the other champions fought Murtazaliev. The WBC champion Sebastian Fundora opted for a rematch with Zhu before signing on to face Keith Thurman.
Risk management.
The WBO and WBA belt holders, Xander Zayas and Abbas Baru, sought a unification fight with each other.
I ain't gonna castigate them, because those are the only 2 guys with a reasonable excuse not to fight Bakram, not to unify with him. They're unifying with each other.
Murtazaliev, 33, even struggled to get his own mandatory challenger in the ring, Erickson Lubin, who chose a bout with Virgil Ortiz instead.
Now that goes right back to risk management, because here you have 2 contenders, 2 guys that don't have a belt, choosing to fight each other when there's a champion available that was willing to fight them.
How long has Virgil Ortiz been campaigning as a junior middleweight now? 2 years, and he has yet to fight for a title. I'm a little bit disappointed because other fighters were kind of talking, saying, yes, but when it comes to the business, nobody will take it. So that's the problem, Murtazaliev told Boxing Scene through a translator. The 2 standout names in the division, Jaron Ennis and Ortiz, have been involved in ongoing talks. The pair's teams cannot come to an agreement to match what they claim is the 2 best fighters in the division. Murtazaliev revealed that he has had the same issue with both.
Boots and Virgil have not proven that they're the best at 154. Maybe the most promoted, the most popular, but the best in show? They've yet to prove that.
They had the opportunity to fight me. Ortiz 2 times, and also Ennis. But they did not fight me because they could have fought with me, Murtazaliev said. So if they think they're the best in the division, but they're not fighting other boxers, and they don't have belts, so who did they beat in their division? Which big names have they beat to call themselves the best? So, they haven't. I would have won this. One is Mexican and one is American, and they have a fan base that is supporting them. Other than that, I don't see them as big, because first of all, they haven't fought anybody with a big name, and how can they call themselves the best in my division? Back home, nobody even knows them.
He's talking about Russia.
And I believe he's telling the truth because neither Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis a Celebrity is so much that they've gone international. A lot of what Bakram is saying is true.
They're popular in America, but not around the world.
Murtazaliev has finally found a challenger willing to step through the ropes and face him. Britain's Josh Kelly has accepted the daunting task at hand and will fight Murtazaliev this Saturday in Newcastle, England. The Sunderland local has already accepted a first defense of the IBF title should he be victorious against Boots Ennis. Josh Kelly can fight with Ennis after losing to me, because who else is he gonna fight? Murtazaliev joked. Ennis can fight with me anytime. My door is open for him, and if he wants, he can fight. In the media, they talk, they want to fight the best, and when it comes to the business, they try to avoid the fight, or they put the amount of money too high that it's not affordable for the fight. So it's basically about the money and the business. My door is open to any fighter in the division.
Eddie Hearn has been very selective with his words. That if Josh Kelly wins the fight, he's already agreed to fight Boots. But what if Josh Kelly loses and Bakram wins? Will Boots fight him? Did you make that fight? Did you make Bakram the same deal that you made Josh Kelly? Should Murtazaliev win on Saturday against Kelly, will his focus again turn towards getting a fellow belt holder in the ring? After fighting Team Zoo, yes, that was my goal, to collect all the belts, because I didn't fight for a very long time, and the politics going on in boxing, it's going to be very difficult, even to make a unification fight, he explained. As you see me still, I'm not having those unification fights. In today's boxing, it's going to be very difficult, but I think for me right now, if there won't be any changes, I might go down or go up, so I can be a world champion in maybe a different division.
Going down in weight is not a solution, because if the champions at your own weight don't want to fight you, don't want to unify with you, you think the champions at 147 are going to want to do it? They're even smaller, likely squirrelier.
Scarier.
It seems absurd that Murtazaliev, an enormous junior middleweight, could drop down to welter in the hopes of finding a title holder willing to share the ring with him. I don't have any problem with cutting weight, he said of the drop down in weight, you know. If I was supposed to cut weight for today, I would have done that. And even when I was fighting Tim Kazoo, my weight was 151 the next morning. And if there's going to be a good deal, I can fight at 147 as well. I can drop down to 147. No problem.
Don't waste your time. You won't get a fight at 147 any more than you've been getting fights at 154. The best thing to do would be to move up to 160.
The middleweight division is an open book. And very soon, 2 of the 4 major titles at that weight may become available as a result of Yanni Beckham Kanalai's failed VADA test. If you don't have any luck picking up one of those, you can always become the mandatory challenger for either Arislandi Lara or Carlos Adames, who are not otherwise preoccupied right now and generally don't fight that much.
I think it's been close to a year since Carlos Adames' last fight, and he won't be boxing this weekend since he had to withdraw due to dehydration.
It'll probably be a year the next time we see him. So that division is ripe for the taking, though before it comes to that, let's see what happens this weekend, and let's see if Boots is willing to fight Bakram, because if you're willing to fight Josh, if he wins, then why not fight Bakram if he wins?
You know why.
The sport of boxing oftentimes looks more like the sport of risk mitigation, risk management.
Boots is still on my shit list, you know. This is a guy with over 30 fights, and all he's got to show for it is the scalp of a Montestanionis, who was a world champion for all of 10 seconds before Boots took his title. And I'm not impressed. Even if you can't blame him specifically for the collapse of the Virgil Ortiz fight,
you're still under pressure to fight somebody, and Bakram Murtazaliev is willing, so I see no reason that you shouldn't make it. This weekend's fight for Bakram would satisfy his mandatory obligation. After that, he's free to take on a voluntary. That's what Boots would be if he volunteers.
Is he going to? Because it's not like he's busy fighting Virgil. When it comes to Virgil,
according to veteran boxing scribe Stephen Kimothy, the other shoe has dropped. Goldenboy Promotions has filed suit in the Superior Court of the State of California, County of LA, Central Division, versus RGM Promo, the manager of Virgil Ortiz, for complaint for interference with contract and interference with prospective economic advantage. Not too long ago, Ortiz had filed a lawsuit against Goldenboy, seeking to void their promotional agreement. Part of this suit alleges Merrigan has embarked on a campaign of self-promotion and self-aggrandizement in an effort to ingratiate himself with the newest player in the boxing world, Dana White, and his UFC-affiliated promotional company, Zuffa. In a transparent effort to curry favor with Zuffa, Merrigan has deliberately and willfully interfered with Goldenboy's contracts for his own personal interest. He is not acting for the benefit of Ortiz, he is acting only for himself.
So that confirms my suspicions that Virgil Ortiz isn't doing all of this so that he can have a Boots fight immediately after that. They want to take him over to Zuffa.
For months, Merrigan, in direct violation of Ortiz's obligations to Goldenboy, has engaged in negotiations directly with competing promoters, such as Matchroom, Boxing USA Inc., Canelo Promotions LLC, and others, and has disclosed the confidential terms of Ortiz's agreement with Goldenboy to third parties. Mirigan has used these negotiations and unlawful disclosures to promote his own supposed standing in the boxing business and attract attention to himself. Notably, Mirigan has never attempted in good faith to come to an agreement for Ortiz's next fight. Rather, he be used as a pawn in his campaign of self-promotion. Goldenboy brings this lawsuit to right this egregious wrong. Later on, it adds, Mirigan sought to make Goldenboy's job negotiating for Ortiz's fights more difficult in order to weaken Goldenboy's relationship with Ortiz so that he could paint himself as the only person who could get deals done for Ortiz. Second, Mirigan sought to interfere with Goldenboy's broadcast relationship with DAZN in the hopes that he could take away Ortiz from DAZN and
That's what I told you.
offer him to other promoters and broadcasters such as Zuffa and Paramount Plus, to whom Mirigan has promised of his other fighters given Ortiz's status in the sport. Mirigan hoped that doing so would increase Mirigan's standing with those other parties, and so on. It reads, as for what Goldenboy is seeking, financially it says, for damages in the amount to be proven at trial, but in no event less than 10 million, and for exemplary and punitive damages against Mirigan to punish and deter him from engaging in similar conduct in the future.
The rift between Team Ortiz and Goldenboy Promotions is not about making or not making the Boots fight. I've been telling you all along, Rick Mirigan and Team Ortiz don't really want that fight. What they want to do is jump ship and better deal Oscar.
And in doing so, weakening the relationship between Goldenboy Promotions and DAZN as a platform, because DAZN were the ones pressuring Oscar to make the Boots fight.
Not making the fight at a time where Oscar's deal with DAZN is up could see him jettisoned from the platform. If you can't do what we ask you to do, then why should we keep giving you a budget?
If you can't even hang on to what are supposed to be your flagship fighters in Virgil Ortiz, who's trying to leave you, and Ryan Garcia, who's also trying to as well,
what are you good for?
and don't look at Virgil Ortiz as being the unwitting participant in this entire fiasco, because he's old enough that if he wanted the Boots fight, he could put his foot down and have the Boots fight. You let everybody else do all the thinking, all the talking, all the wheeling and dealing for you.
Because you don't really want that fight. You don't work for Rick Mirigan. Rick Mirigan works for you.
When the story kicked off, it would seem that not making the Boots fight was the catalyst that caused the rift between Team Ortiz and Goldenboy Promotions, when it was never Team Ortiz's intention to make that fight.
And that's what you need to understand. That fight is not a priority for Team Ortiz. They just want a better deal, Oscar.
Whether or not you think they're right in doing so, I will leave such judgments up to you, and they may succeed, because the point still stands that the DAZN deal ended, and per Virgil Ortiz's contract, if Goldenboy Promotions is left without a broadcaster,
the deal is terminated and the promotional contract is void. We know that for at least a brief period, Goldenboy was without a broadcast partner.
even if they announced yesterday they inked a broadcast deal with Swerve TV, whatever the fuck that is, from the time the DAZN deal ends to the time the Swerve deal begins,
You were without a broadcaster. And if in between that time Virgil Ortiz filed suit seeking free agency, he may have grounds to get it.
things are about to get ugly, and I don't know that this is a battle Oscar can win. Not in this weakened state, and not when Virgil Ortiz is using the same attorney to achieve his free agency that Canelo used to achieve his free agency.
So bad.